The lawsuit filed by the national chain store Hobby Lobby challenges the Affordable Care Act's requirement for companies to provide birth control coverage as part of basic preventive care for employees. Religious organizations are exempt. Now, the for-profit company wants to be exempt too. Joining me is law professor Susan Chanik with Cal Western's Institute for Health Law Studies. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Susan, what exactly does the Affordable Care Act say about birth control coverage?
Okay, birth control coverage is part of a larger prevention mandate in the Affordable Care Act. There's all kinds of preventive care that is mandated, or that all employers and other insurance policies have to be able to cover for employees. And it includes lots of screening tests for adults and for children, and it also includes mammograms, pap smears, and birth control coverage for women without any cost to the women.
And what specific types of birth control are we talking about?
We're talking about all kinds of birth control, but the objection that Hobby Lobby and Conestoga are making are to two particular kinds of birth control. That's the morning after pill and certain intrauterine devices that they allege are abortifacients, that is, that cause abortions rather than just preventing pregnancies.
According to them.
According to them.
According to them.
That's correct.
Susan, what's Hobby Lobby's argument for why they shouldn't be required to provide coverage for this birth control? Is it simply that these are abortion type, that they believe these are abortive measures?
That's correct, and it violates their right to free exercise of their religion. They're arguing that they have to make a choice between a really bad choice, between violating their religious beliefs or violating the law that requires them to provide these kinds of contraception devices. The truth is that the law doesn't require them to do this. The law says you, employer, can provide health insurance, or you can pay a penalty of $2,000 per employee instead. So Hobby Lobby really has another choice.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. It doesn't require, as you say, that an employer provides this insurance, but there is a fine. So couldn't they just opt for that fine? And again, remind me of that. Is it $200 per employee?
It's $2,000 per employee per year. And they certainly can opt for that fine. Their argument is that their religious beliefs make them want to be able to provide health insurance for their employees, and that they won't be as competitive as other organizations if they don't provide health insurance. But they're perfectly able to not provide health insurance at all, to pay $2,000 fines, and let their employees go to these new exchanges, new health insurance markets, to buy their insurance.
Does the law give for-profit companies like Hobby Lobby the same religious freedoms as it does individuals?
That's a really good question, Peggy, and that's the crux of the lawsuit here. I guess that's something that we'll know much more about in June.
What could happen if Hobby Lobby wins in regards to its impact on women's health coverage, let's say here in San Diego?
Well, women who work for an employer who might be considered to be exempt. I mean, that's what Hobby Lobby is asking for. They're asking for some special accommodation or an exemption from having to provide this kind of contraception to their women employees. And so if they're found to be correct, they prevail in this particular lawsuit, then presumably other corporations of the same type as Hobby Lobby, that is private, for-profit, closely held corporations, presumably, will be able to do the same thing. And then women will not get coverage for those very reliable kinds of contraceptive methods that can be highly in demand and very effective.
Do we have any idea on how the justices will rule on this case?
Oh, it's impossible to know. I mean, that's always, I'd like to have a crystal ball and be able to predict that. Certainly, the women, maybe because they're women or maybe because they're in the liberal, part of the court, certainly seem to be with the government and questioning what Hobby Lobby's rights were in this particular suit. But the rest
in
of
the past, they've sided with corporate. They've leaned, I should say, with corporate decisions as far as being friendly to corporations.
Not the women, but
right,
the court itself tends to, and has more so as in present than it had perhaps in the past, leaned toward decisions that favor corporations.
When can we expect a decision?
I think this is a decision that they're going to hold on to for a long time. So I would guess late June. Late June is as far ahead as they. I mean, that's when their deadline is, or their deadline generally
Generally,
is.
yes. So hopefully
they
we'll,
will. Yeah, I
we'll
think
wait
by
and
late
see
June
what
we'll
happens.
know.
All right, Susan Chanik, law professor, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.